I'm Linda Elseygood, founder of the LDN Research Trust. It has been my honour to interview LDN researchers, prescribers, pharmacists and patients from around the world for many conditions. Thank you for joining us. This evening we're joined by Louise from the United States, who uses LDN for rheumatoid arthritis. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Could you tell us your story? When did you first notice you were having pain?
Well, I've had numerous issues for many, many decades, but I was never tested for rheumatoid arthritis, and nobody thought to do that. So starting 30 years ago when my daughter was born, I had carpal tunnel syndrome in both hands. And today my rheumatologist tells me that if I had been tested for it, she thinks that I would have shown positive for rheumatoid arthritis. So when two years ago, March, I had what they call a flare, where you have 5 joints that are in pain and feeling really badly, and the pain kept on increasing. And so at that point, when I was finally able to see a rheumatologist, I was tested for the antibody, which was 4 times the normal high, and also for rheumatoid factor, which was 4 times the normal high. So I'm one of those RA people where it's absolutely clear that I have RA. Prior to my starting seeing the rheumatologist, I was seeing a naturopath, and she gave me a white paper on LDN and said, why don't you read this and see what you think? So I went to NIH, and I saw that there had been studies done on LDN for MS and for Crohn's disease, nothing for RA, but it sounded quite interesting. And so she prescribed, and I also did some research on my own and found out about Dr. Bahari and also about the academicians in the U.S. who are testing LDN, as well as NIH. And so I decided to go on that. I also simultaneously went on a paleo autoimmune diet and did other modalities. And I, prior to my finally seeing a rheumatologist and getting tested, my flare had gone away, and the rheumatologist, perhaps given my age and the intensity of and the definitiveness of my having RA, suggested that I go on a biologic. So 2 years ago this month, I started on a biologic, Enbrel, and I continued to take the LDN. I continued to do research on LDN, and it's unclear about whether it's totally confirmed for RA. And most recently, I read that there was some suggestion to take it every other day. So I'm on LDN, I'm on the biologic, and I haven't really had another flare, except that I had shoulder surgery 4 months ago, and that pretty much caused overall inflammation in my body, which has now subsided. So I've talked to my rheumatologist, and we have agreed that I'm going to go off the biologic after the next couple of shots, and that pack is done, to see, but I will continue on LDN. And so it will be interesting to see how I fare removing the biologic and just staying on LDN. There is one other factor that I should mention. And actually there was a case in England that I had read about. 2 weeks after I stopped taking an antidepressant 2 years ago, 2 weeks to the day, the flare happened. So I also went back on an antidepressant and have decided to maintain that plus the LDN. So I had read about this case in England where a man he couldn't take a biologic anymore, had RA, and they found that an antidepressant, when he went off his antidepressant, it flared, and when he went back on, again, it was anecdotal. So I'm interested in seeing if the protocol that I'm following can help me without taking the potentially harmful biologic, as well as it, besides it potentially causing cancer, lymphoma, TB, etc., it also is incredibly expensive in the United States. And so I would like to see if LDN, far fewer side effects, much less expensive, if that will help me maintain my situation.
Mm-hmm. what would you say to other people who are contemplating taking LDN for rheumatoid arthritis?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
Yes, what would you say to other people who are thinking of trying LDN?
Well, I would go out and read a lot of the studies that have been conducted. There's several academicians in the University of Pennsylvania, and to go out and do research from both the academicians and others, like your trust and other LDN resources. And a lot of it is more anecdotal for RA, but because they are suggesting it for autoimmune diseases, I would, if it were me, like I did, I would do the research. And there's so few side effects to it that I would say, why not try it? Now, I don't know if it'll work for everyone. The other thing is the dosage. So I know I was initially on 4 milligrams, now I'm on 3.5. And to keep up on the research and see what's being done, and to, again, I think individuals, it's really an individual type of thing. I think it doesn't hurt to do an anti-inflammatory regime for a while, but I think it's very hard to do that forever. Although there are some practitioners who really believe in that. And again, to try things to see what might work for you. However, I would strongly urge anyone to try one thing at a time, as opposed to myself, who just was so panicked that I tried everything. And so now I'm not really sure what's working, but I'm grateful that I'm not in a flare, and I really, I'm back in my exercising and doing things. I would like to also point out, however, I've had numerous surgeries in the last several decades. I had a knee replacement. I've had shoulder surgery. I've had hand surgery. And so some of that could be related to the RA. And because I was never tested, it's not clear. Mm-hmm. However, when the surgeon did my shoulder surgery, he didn't see any indication of RA in that joint. It was probably wear and tear and overdoing it. So I would suggest that people do research, and I would be happy to share the links that I've gathered that you could post on your website for people to read themselves and see if that seems to fit what they think might work for them.
Okay, thank you. And like I said before we started, we'll do a follow-up interview with you, maybe in a year or so's time, and see how you get on with just being on the LDN.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Okay, thank you for sharing your story with us.
You're welcome.
Do you have LDN experience to share? If so, please email me, linda@ldnrt.org. I look forward to hearing from you.